Okay, we'll call to order this April 24th, 2019 meeting of the Franklin County Commission. Roll call. Debbie?
Commissioner Waymire,
Present.
Commissioner Dunn,
Present.
Commissioner Dickinson,
Present.
Commissioner Stottlemyre, Chair Howard.
Present. If you'd all stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please remain standing for the invocation that will be led by Pastor Kim Wilcox of the North Baptist Church. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please join me in prayer. Heavenly Father, we thank you again today for this opportunity for these commissioners to make decisions that guide and direct our county here in Franklin County. Father, we come this morning and we just want to apologize to you if there's times where we say things that we shouldn't or do things that we shouldn't. But Father, we do ask that you guide and direct each one this morning, that you give discernment, that you give great insight, and Father, in the midst of that, they would make wise decisions based on your influence and based on the influence that would be best for the county here. Father, I thank you for each one and the help that you provided for them. As you continue to guide and direct them as they go forward, as they lead this county. And Father, for each one that comes today, we just give an opportunity to give peace and strength to them as well. So Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for this opportunity to gather and for the business that they will conduct. Father, thank you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you. Next, public comment. A citizen desiring to speak on an item not on the agenda may do so at this time. Discussion is limited to 5 minutes, and the commission will not take action to discuss items at this time. Discussion should be limited to matters of county commission business, and public comment is not permitted in regard to personnel matters or on pending legal matters. Items introduced under public comment may become agenda items at a later date. Gene on there first.
Yes, Jean?
Good morning. Gene Hurt, 219 West 4th Street in Linden, Kansas. Okay. Now I take you back to last Wednesday, okay? And I made comments here about what they were predicting for a storm for our area here and the local counties here. Well, guess what? It happened. Unfortunately, it had a lot of rain here. Thank God there was no tornadoes. There was some reports of funnel clouds and all that. But the main point here I want to get across on this is there was a tremendous amount of rain fell here. And the paper did an injustice. And the individual that's on the emergency preparedness people said the wrong amounts of rain. Because there was one individual that contacted me that had 5 inches because he wanted to direct me to Facebook. And you could have seen it on Facebook, the water that was running down on the southeast side of Franklin County here, and the road there that was flooded. I put on there, what road was this? And I got a response back. That was Nevada, flooded because of the ridges so high. The water was running down there, the river had flowed out and flooded the whole thing. And the last guy, his name was Knight. And he was really upset. And I can understand why he would be. But the reason I'm bringing that out now is this. Your $5 million road on both sides, from one person that lives down there, said the water was out in the fields on both sides. Now, what's going to happen is, when you get the people that are coming in, wanting to question about coming out there to Proximity Park, fine. But you're going to have to address, just like Wendy Lee did there a while back down there at the City Commission. she couldn't understand why everybody was so concerned about a floodplain. Now you see why. What happened? So how are you going to address that? How are you? I don't know. But believe me, there's the proof. The movies are there, videos there to see, and the people out there. Now, the next thing I want to get into is this hotel. Oh my God. The radio has reported now that from Wendy Lee down there from the city that they're going to start now progressing on a hotel after a whole year went by. But there's also an indication, and word of mouth that got to me was there were some conditions here of this thing being built within a certain time. Now, do you have to go back and restructure this with this outfit from Nebraska or what? But that's what you get for going out of state and allowing them to come in here with a hotel. And see, I will call it when it gets built, the Roach Bed Bug Hotel, because that's what it's noted for. Okay? Now, there were some other things I wanted to address, but I can't. Because the one I'm going to address now, it happened starting Sunday night and then last night. The sheriff is here, so that's
One
good
minute.
now.
1 minute.
Well, that's all right, Rick. I'm going to get this out. So now, okay, Sunday night, I got a phone call at midnight, or 11 o'clock, from the Chamber of Commerce telephone numbers. The individual on there was threatening me because I was doing some things here in this county that he was not approval of. And he would not respond to me, and then he hung up. Then he called again at 11:30 that night, and I didn't answer it. Okay, but last night, here's the kicker. I got 4 phone calls from the Chamber of Commerce threatening me again. And then also I got 6 phone calls from Wise Guy's telephone number, and I'm not going to say his name because the recording he gave on there of his phone number, I will not do that. But I'm telling now the sheriff, now something's going on wrong, and it's not good for these type of phone calls coming from phone numbers from this county. Thank you.
We have a James Wallace who would like to speak next.
Okay, James, same thing. 5 minutes.
James Wallace, 2447 Nebraska Road. I'm here mainly because of water damage to the roads also and dust control. It almost looks, the water has run down the side of the road, the shoulder of the road, not in the ditches where it goes. It runs down there enough so it's cut its own trench into the ditch. I took pictures, I don't know if we're allowed to use that or not, but I have plenty of pictures to show you. Like I say, it's eroding and cutting its own trench into the shoulders of the road and trying to drain into the ditch, but it's still leaving the shoulders soft and basically a 1-lane road when they're wet, and they stay wet a long time. And it needs to be addressed before you totally lose it. I mean, it's getting worse and worse every rain. And as far as the dust control, I talked with the road department guy that was here last week, and he assured me that they were still going forward with dust control and that the flags would be given out by the 19th of April. Well, April 19th rolled around and I didn't get any flags. I don't know if we're still on track with dust control or not, but I paid the money for it, and I'd like to know if it's going to go through or not. That's all I got.
Take takes us to the consent agenda. Items today on the consent agenda to be considered and approved are just the minutes from April 17th meeting. There's no claim vouchers, there's no tax change orders. With that, I'd look for a motion to approve the consent agenda. Any motions or second?
Commissioner Dunn,
Yes.
Commissioner Dickinson,
Yes.
Commissioner Stottlemyre,
Yeah.
Commissioner Waymire,
Yes.
Chair Howard.
Yes. Okay, takes us to items of business. The first item of business today is consider approving soliciting bids for tires.
Yes, Commissioners, this past winter, obviously, was pretty rough. We utilized every available vehicle that we had. It caused us to really run through our tires a little quicker than normal. So we're asking to replenish our stock of tires so that we have things on hand as we need to replace the tires. And so we're just asking for approval to solicit bids again, just like we did a few months ago.
Pretty cut and dry. Any questions on that? Now we'll look for a motion to approve soliciting bids for tires. So, have a motion second. Motion second.
Commissioner Dickinson,
Yes.
Commissioner Stottlemyre,
Yeah.
Commissioner Waymire,
Yes.
Commissioner Dunn, Chair Howard.
Yes. Okay, item number 2, consider awarding bids for the annex parking lot drain project. Brandon.
Morning. So, yeah, we put out this RFP a little while back. Got a couple of people came out and took a look at what we needed done out here to get our drainage issue fixed. The only bid that I received back was from Kilo Construction. So, just looking for approval that we go ahead and award them the bid. They're going to replace that line with a 12-inch line, repair the asphalt, put concrete around the train inlets when they replace those as well, and then kind of rework the ditch where all that's emptied out to aid in the drainage to that area. So,
This is really, as we've discussed on several occasions, this is kind of the first step. It'll allow us to keep the water off the lot, and then we can look at what our resurfacing options might be.
Would you like to get fixed? Okay, any other questions right now for Brandon? I'll have a public comment. 5 minutes just on this topic.
I understand.
I know that.
Okay. Okay, on this subject, you know, I've been volunteer, and I'll repeat it again, 17 years. The flooding has been occurring in this parking lot that long. And now, as I stated before, when it first came up, that I'm glad to see now you're gonna go from a 4-inch to a 12-inch drainage. That will help immensely. I think it should have been done a long time ago. I can remember many times coming to the meetings here, coming into town with the flooding that goes on here when you have major heavy rains. And so my only comment with this is it's about time it gets done. Thank you.
Make a motion to award the bid for replacement of the annex parking lot drain for construction, the amount of $21,745.
Have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion is second.
Commissioner Stottlemyre,
Yeah.
Commissioner Waymire,
Yes.
Commissioner Dunn,
Yes.
Commissioner Dickinson,
Yes.
Chair Howard.
Yes. Okay. Takes us to item number 3, it's the approval of the fiscal year 2020 budget for the Kansas Department of Corrections, Adult Services in the amount of $430,262.81. Scott?
Good morning.
On March the 8th, 2019, Community Corrections received notice that the agency would be receiving $430,262.81. On or before May 1st, each district is required to submit a comprehensive plan grant application to KDOC for the upcoming fiscal year. Our plan this year, essentially the budget itself, we have broken down the budget. The $430,262.81, that is a reduction from last year. There's a lot of items in there that we did not include, such as we were wanting to take a look at purchasing a vehicle. But we have broken down the personnel to $376,101.22. That goes to personnel. And the other one goes to operations. That would be $53,745.04. We also placed in there drug supplies to help balance that out of $416.55. What we plan on doing this fiscal year to help offset some of the cuts we received is making a purchase for supplies with our fiscal year 19 funds. Hopefully that will get us through the first quarter in fiscal year 20. And also we will be able to use some of our reimbursement funds as well if we need to use those to help assist to get us by fiscal year 20. That's the overall budget of the adult budget itself. Our plan this fiscal year, the agency will continue with its quality assurance efforts on increasing skill development with the officers reporting motivational interviewing, ethics schools, MIDI assessing, and LSAR group inter-rater reliability. Our office is 100% evidence-based. All of our interactions with our clients are there to help promote change for them to be successful on probation. That will continue. That is here to stay, and that is the agency plan. We do plan on implementing a MRT group. It's a cognitive-based group. We at one time we had a T4C group. There are some gaps with T4C. At one time we carried bags. It's closed-ended, meaning if we have a client that starts services, starts the T4C, and they are incarcerated for some reason for a short period of time, they'll have to start that over. That's counterproductive. MRT is open-ended. That group will allow somebody is attending those cognitive groups for a month, and for some reason they have missed some groups, they can start right back in that group. So that will benefit our clients greatly instead of having to continually start over those groups. So the part of our goals of this fiscal year 20, will be to implement that MRT program. The first step, what we need to take is getting officers trained. We will be using some of the funds to get all officers trained to do that, including me. I'm going to go through that training so I can help facilitate some of those groups. And what we will also be doing is buying supplies from some of the grant money or whatnot, so we can perform cognitive groups with those individuals. MRT essentially is working with clients on more reasoning, working with them on better decision making, and we do that in a group process. That is one of the goals in fiscal year 20. Another goal that we are wanting to be successful on is reaching a 75% success rate. That is a state standard, and that is a standard that we are working to meet with all of our motivational interviewing, our ethics skills that we're using with our clients. Case planning with our clients is critical. Case plans, our officers are trained to make them client-specific, and quality assurance measures to help out with fidelity. But that 75% range success rate, what we're trying to do is we are going to be tracking the data. We track successful and unsuccessful closures. Unsuccessful right now are being tracked as successful. That state views unsuccessful as a success. Their view is that if you step foot into prison, that is revoked. But successful and unsuccessful are viewed the same. We have not been tracking the unsuccessful rates, so we are now going to be doing that and finding out why are people being unsuccessfully discharged. Majority of the time, just by looking at the numbers, I can say a high percentage would be those that have completed all their aspects of their probation, but just owe some money in the case. And a lot of times, the standard practice is for them to be referred to collections and terminated unsuccessfully off probation. So we'll be tracking that data. We'll be sharing that with KDOC, and that will give us a better understanding of what's going on with our unsuccessful population. Additionally, we'll be working hand-to-hand with Family Peace Initiative and the Elizabeth Layton Center. We'll be tracking progresses with our behavioral grants. We'll be tracking successfuls, unsuccessfuls, and we'll also be reaching out to them to find out what are some trends they're seeing with their clients. Our clients, what are some barriers that they're seeing? And then we can use those barriers to help assess case planning or whatnot to enhance the likelihood that we'll be able to give them the resources to be successful in probation. And then the overall budget, I covered that. We balanced that out at the $262.81. For you to seek approval on that.
How much less is your budget last year?
It was a 4.3 cut from last year.
4.3%.
Yes.
Any reason?
Yeah. Funding, state funding.
I don't have a question, I have a comment. I appreciate your keeping, as an interim director, keeping the department not only afloat, but moving forward. You're doing a great job.
Thank you.
Okay, if not, we'll look for the approval of the fiscal year 2020 budget for the Kansas Department of Corrections Adult Services in the amount of $430,262.81, and also the approval of the fiscal year 2020 Kansas Department of Corrections Comprehensive Plan for Adult Services. Motions for a second.
One second.
Commissioner Waymire,
Yes.
Commissioner Dunn,
Yes.
Commissioner Dickinson,
Yeah.
Commissioner Stottlemyre,
Yeah.
Chair Howard.
Yes. Okay, item number 4, also Lee Scott, approval of the fiscal year 2020 Kansas Department of Corrections Juvenile Justice Comprehensive Plan Grant Application and conditions of the grant for juvenile services, graduated sanctions and prevention. Scott.
So the district received notice that the agency would be receiving $345,063 in graduated sanctions funds and $39,507 in prevention funds for the KDOC juvenile services programs. The budget itself, the graduated sanctions, we have budgeted for juvenile intake to go to the juvenile detention center in the amount of $73,296.19. That goes to personnel, salary benefits, agency operations to help assist with the juvenile intake. For JISP and case management within our agency, basically case management are for juveniles that are placed at a home or juveniles that are at the juvenile correctional facility. That's the difference between JISP and case management. State's kind of getting away from case management throughout the years. So for JISP, our budget is $215,340.19. That breaks down to personnel salary of $178,562, and operations $34,695.68. Case management, that breaks down to the $56,426.62, and that breaks it down to the personnel of $45,384 $1,245, and case management of operations would be the $10,401.40. Those three, juvenile intake, JISP, case management, those numbers balanced out to $345,063 to balance the budget. Additionally, the funds for the prevention funds, that will be going again, just like fiscal year 19 this year, will be going to truancy court. Truancy court is ran through court services, through the courts. They track the numbers for us, they provide us the numbers, and we report that out to KDOC. The numbers that I have seen fiscal 18 has been a success. We have a lot of juveniles attending the truancy court system, and I'm seeing a lot of successes with that program. And again, those monies would be going to court services, justice court for prevention. The overall plan, our agency's goals would be, we want to reach, with our clients, reach a 60% success rate. We want more than that. Last fiscal year, we reached 57.14%. We're wanting to improve on that. Some of the steps that as an agency that we'll be taking to help assist with reaching an increased success rate will be staff will continue to be incorporating the motivational interviewing skills. I am a mighty coder, so I'm able to assess our officers' interviewing skills with our clients. So we'll continue with that quality assurance measures, and I'll be able to give feedback to our officers on different possible techniques they can use to improve the motivational interview that they're using with their juveniles. And again, we want to be targeting on our case YLS, we want to target the big four domains, which is it's critical when it comes to case planning. So that is critical for our officers to be targeting those higher risk domains for their case planning. And ethics, again, that is basically effective practices in the community supervision. We work with ethics, we work with our juveniles on behavioral analysis, stinking reports, race documents, anything to get the juvenile thinking, and any kind of change talk the juvenile is making, we want to go with that. And also give the juvenile family as much resources as possible. If we have a moderate to high risk juvenile, we want to give that juvenile in resources as soon as possible. And that's the plan of the comp plan goals, to help reach that 60%, get the resources out there for the family as timely as possible so we can get those services implemented. On the plan on truancy court, I'll just give you some numbers that I think is outstanding. One of the outcome statements that we have, youth assigned to truancy court shall attend 90% of their scheduled hearings before the magistrate judge in fiscal year 2020. And that's an outcome we're trying to hit. In fiscal year 18, the truancy court youth had been scheduled to attend 100 individual court sessions. Of those 100 hearings, the youth and parent attended 98 hearings to make it a 98 success. So that's a very good number. We want to continue with that. So we put it at 90% because that is such a good number. Putting it at 100% is a little unfair. So we want to keep those percentages high, but I thought that was a really good high number, success rate there. Also, another behavioral outcome that we're looking at is reduce the percentage of unexcused absences by 10%. In fiscal year 18, the number of unexcused absences will equal 13%. When they started truancy court, that percentage went down to 9%. So you are seeing change there, you see a positive change.
Who sits on the truancy court?
Pardon?
Who is the court? Who is the truancy court? Who operates that?
Emily Watts runs that program along with John Stillman with Court Services. Judge Kimball is also involved with that. They have a lot of people that are involved with that system. So I thought those numbers looked really good, 98 out of 100.
Are you, with the change in the state as far as charging juveniles, are you finding your expenses in that area to go, are they gonna go down or not necessarily?
I'm not sure. I would think that they would go up because the whole push is, hopefully one will go up, but I think the push is not to incarcerate.
But give them to you instead of incarcerate?
Correct.
Ah, so yeah, you actually find it
And we
more.
will still get the youth that are at the juvenile correctional facility in case management, because we still manage those juveniles. But when it comes to like juvenile intake or whatnot, the big push is to be using graduated sanctions or whatnot. So I would see it going up rather than down, and put it that way for case management.
Next, Scott, on this one. Okay, if I would look to approve for the fiscal year 2020 Kansas Department of Corrections Juvenile Justice Comprehensive Plan, grant application and conditions of the grant for the graduated sanctions and preventions of Scott.
I would so move.
And a second.
Commissioner Dunn,
Yes.
Commissioner Dickinson,
Yes.
Commissioner Stottlemyre,
Yes.
Commissioner Waymire,
Yes.
and Chair Howard.
Yes. Okay, item number 5, approval of the Kansas Department of Corrections fiscal year 2020 behavioral health grant and budget in the amount of $109,058.40.
Community Corrections is seeking grant funds in the amount of $109,058.40 to support care coordination services in the Fort Rouge District. These grant funds will support one care coordinator, mental health clinician through the Elizabeth Layton Center that provides and/or coordinates behavioral health services to clients being supervised by the Fourth District Court, by the Fourth District Community Corrections. Examples of services include the following: mental health evaluations, mental health treatment, cognitive education, referrals to medication management, referrals to substance abuse treatment, sex offender treatment, and coordination of various case management related activities. Additionally, these grant monies are used to support a local battery intervention program and pay costs associated with clients meeting the behavioral health needs. The goal of the program is to timely acquire treatment for our clients. Some barriers with our clients: no insurance, not enough income to be able to pay for services. This bridges the barrier, so there's not a barrier that we can help assist with some funding to get the services that they need going. With our grants, it breaks it down to the Elizabeth Layton Center. It would be $65,566, and that would be going to contractual personnel. And I broke it down here in travel. The percentages there were based on some of the fiscal year numbers. So travel we have down for $1,661.40. Training we have at $140. Office setup at $386. Group supplies are at $1,500. We'll be able to help assist with that in our NRT supplies. Mental health, this breaks it down to when our care coordinator contracts out services. For example, if we have a client that is on probation with us, but they're doing treatment somewhere else through another provider, we will be able to contract out and pay for an assessment if they cannot afford to get one. So that's what these numbers break down, that we'll be able to contract out with services. Of the $109,058.40, $23,800 would be going to the Batterers Intervention Program. That is a program that we have, that they have groups here on Mondays. We will be able to help assist with paying for 20 evaluations. Those are $150 each. We will also be able to help assist with paying for 40 treatment sessions. The treatment sessions groups are $30, we'll pay $20. There was a copay of $10 that the client will be paying when they attend the treatment group. And they pay that towards the Family Peace Initiative. They are the people that run the Battersea Prevention Program. What I can say about the behavioral health grant, care coordination, that is a program we're very proud of. Being able to provide services to our clients that may not be able to afford those services will not only have a positive effect on themselves, but their family. The objective is to reduce risk. The more resources we can give our clients to bridge those barriers, the reduced risk that they have on themselves and the community.
Any questions on this one? If not, we look for a motion to approve the Kansas Department of Corrections fiscal year 2020 behavioral health grant and budget in the amount of $109,058.40. Motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second.
Commissioner Dickinson,
Yes.
Commissioner Stottlemyre,
Yes.
Commissioner Waymire,
Yes.
Commissioner Dunn,
Yes.
Chair Howard.
Yes. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you.
Okay, takes us after reports, Terry.
Yeah, our first item today, David asked for permission to solicit bids for tires. And I had a conversation with one of you yesterday, and it occurred to me that these are items that we really ought to just have on the consent agenda. You know, when you're asking permission to solicit bids, and there are certain things that Public Works consistently needs. I'm thinking tires, culverts, pipe. I mean, I'm sure there are other things that it'd probably save us time. It'd certainly save us time, save us a cover sheet, save you guys time if we just had that on the consent agenda. If there were ever questions about any of it, certainly they could be pulled off and be made regular agenda items. But I don't think in my 5 years here we've ever had discussion about any of it. They're just run-of-the-mill things that we need. And so I've talked to David and told him that moving forward, that's probably what we'll do, unless, of course, any of you have objections to that.
We had talked about that a couple of years ago, I think. We got back into our regular groove of doing things, but yeah, salt comes to mind, chemicals for noxious weed, just consumable things that we've already made the decision through budgeting, because we're gonna do these projects, so obviously they'd have to be procured. But then, yeah, they would come back and they'd be on our consent agenda to approve the purchase itself.
And like you said, any commissioner that has a question on one of them could be pulled off the consent agenda at any time, like any other items on the consent agenda.
And they would still go through the bid process?
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
so no.
Yeah, literally nothing would change other than it would be a consent.
When I was out at the guy that was the tire guy that had been moved up, and the list of the vehicles and tires, and this vehicle takes this tire, it was like, oh my goodness. I mean, it's just amazing, the inventory you have to keep, so, yeah, do it.
Next thing I want to discuss is another tax sale property. Had a gal at Croucher Abstract reach out to me again. There is another property that we have someone interested in purchasing, and it's another property that our attorney was unable to get service on. Apparently, the owner of the property has been deceased for years, so we've been sending tax statements to her son. Well, her son has severe advanced Alzheimer's, and so nobody's been paying the taxes, and so it's went into foreclosure. In order to get service on this, I mean, a litany of things would need to happen. We would need to open up a probate for the owner. We would need to open up a conservatorship for the son. And then all of the potential heirs would need to be personally served in order for us to achieve process on this, just so we could, complete the court foreclosure. The taxes haven't been paid. This is another, the purpose for the call was, is this something that, again, the county would be willing to potentially indemnify? The land itself has very little value. It's actually the owner of the lot next to it who just wants to buy it so that he can, you know, have two adjacent lots and maybe put an outbuilding or something on it. I would tell you again, that the same rationale applies as last time. I don't see a lot of legal exposure. I mean, these properties that end up going to foreclosure, they typically go to foreclosure because they're not valuable and nobody wants them. So by their very nature, there's not a lot of legal exposure here for the board or the county. This would allow an individual to purchase it, to have title insurance, to put it to productive use. It's another lot that could be cleaned up, and obviously with every lot that we do here, that we are improving the community, or at least that's one way to look at it. And so I just want to get a feel from all of you. Same deal applies. I would be back probably next week with the actual agreement to sign off on, but I just want to see if there's an appetite first before we do that.
So there's no house on it, just a vacant lot?
It's a good idea.
Yep.
Okay, very good. Scott's still here. We are currently looking for community corrections director. We've done interviews, some last week, some this week. I think we have 4 pretty strong candidates. And so what we're going to do is next week, we're going to have them come back and give the panel a presentation on what their ideal 6 to 12 months would be. And we can learn a lot, obviously, from an applicant by them presenting to us. It's far different than a typical interview. We'll kind of learn something about their acumen with technology, their communication style, and we'll be able to drill down a little deeper into what their actual vision is. And so we have 4 people that'll come back in next week, and we're excited about the possibility of getting a very strong director there. Lastly, the budget. Janet and I have our first budget meeting with the department head today. The lion's share of them will be tomorrow, and then we will finish up Friday. I'm pretty pleased thus far at what we've seen. Every department and elected official has turned their budgets in. There is some work to do before we present it to the board, but by and large, they're very good budgets. I think people understand the situation that we're in, and have strived to stay pretty flat with the exception of raises for our employees. And so we look forward to doing that here these next few days, and then having something for you here moving into this summer. So that being said, one other thing. Commissioner Stottlemyre, you asked me last week about wreaths for Franklin County. You'll recall we had an individual in here who was asking about wreaths and asking us to donate money. And one of you, I think it might have been you, Cole, wanted to know what we've done or what we typically do for veterans throughout the year. And so I asked Janet to look into that. Last year, we gave $1,000 of TGT funds to the Veterans Day Parade Committee. We gave $250 to Appanoose Elementary for their Veterans Lunch. We gave $200 to Wellsville for their Veterans Breakfast. Then it looks like we're going back to 16. We gave wreaths across Franklin County $500. And so that's kind of a breakdown of what we've done for veteran-related causes. And so I don't know if with that info you are prepared to make a recommendation on what, if anything, you'd like to give to wreaths. I believe the request was $500 again, so.
I'm happy with what we're currently doing, I guess. It's a neat enough project, but I don't know that it's something we need to fund with tax dollars. We just need
specific project. I guess there's just a lot of good causes, and at some point, just not sure I can feel like why we would want to need to do this. Given our
I'll
limited
articulate it
funds.
because the parade, the breakfast, we're honoring veterans that are still here, that we can actually, you know. And I'm with Cole, but I would agree that those, I like those being better at this point.
And I agree, you can never do enough for the veterans, that's for sure, but, you know, it's not like we gave nothing, we did give them $500, so. It's not like we haven't gave this anything, we gave the $500. I think I would have to agree with the others so far on this.
Well, and, you know, as we get closer to Veterans Day, obviously, those same items are gonna come back, before they do every year, so you'll have the opportunity to contribute to causes for veterans, certainly. Anyone else have a comment on that?
Actually, I'd be willing to go about $250 for this, Franklin County. I think it's a good project, and they're trying to get enough reason to, put on every veteran's grave out there, on the cemeteries.
Got a motion?
I don't know, I mean, yeah, you could make a motion.
I couldn't hear the other, I didn't know if
That
it
is
was
just
motion or not.
his point of view.
Oh. And Roy's statement was $250.
Yes.
I really don't have a problem. I mean, that's a pretty, we haven't given, and I don't think this is one of those deals like the Veterans Day Parade. I don't think you'll be getting this request forever. I think it's, and I know they're getting some money. I know the car club give them $1,000. I know we was at Wellsville the other night, they give them $500. So I think it's something they're gaining on their numbers. I'm not saying there won't always be a replacement need down the road, but,
I just don't see the purchase of the wreaths as a core function of local government. I think it's a noble cause better served through public funds. We already do quite a bit. I'm happy with what we do. I just can't see where that fits our core function of local government. How would be an appropriate use of tax dollars?
Well, without a motion from someone, I'll reach out and let them know that we're not interested at this time. And certainly if
I'll
I'm,
make a motion.
okay,
Make a motion, we, donate $250 for the wreaths across Franklin County.
Okay, I have a motion to donate $250 to police across Franklin County. Is there a second to that?
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second.
Commissioner Stottlemyre,
Yes?
Commissioner Waymire,
No.
Commissioner Dunn,
Yes.
Commissioner Dickinson,
I will vote yes.
Chair Howard.
No.
okay. Well, I will let him know that we are gonna donate $250.
Okay.
That is all I have.
Sure.
One question, I wanted to update you on where we are on our Intox cell, that project. As you know, we're moving forward with replacing ceilings and repairing the walls and cameras in there. And coordinating with all those companies, I believe that we'll be starting on the big work on that will start tomorrow. And they're hoping to be done probably around Monday or Tuesday. We coordinate with county maintenance, does the first part of that for us, and that helps save the county money. They tear down the old ceiling and get some things in place for us, and so that part will be starting tomorrow morning, and then roughly tomorrow afternoon is when the actual construction stuff will start with that. So that's kind of kind of where we are on that point. Also, we've discussed previously that several of the cities in the county were interested in having a county-wide municipal court. Just to give you an update, I've been in contact with a couple different mayors that are part of that. They're looking to get something going on that now, but what they're looking at now is primarily going to be having a codes enforcement officer that will serve the different counties and have that court take care of that. That will not get the sheriff's office involved in enforcing their city ordinances or anything like that, but it is part of that framework. And I think it may be a starting point for that, but this is where the need that they really have at this point is their codes enforcement, and this is a way for them to work together and kind of see where they are and kind of how they're going to proceed. And so I think that may be a good place for them to start, and that's kind of where they are at this point. So other than that, if any of you have any questions for me, I'd be happy to answer them.
Just a statement that we thought that was gonna be months down the road to get that detox cell work done.
And
Seemed
it
like they
will
got
be a
that.
little bit further down the road for the walls,
Oh.
for that part, but they really needed for us to have the ceilings and cameras and everything done first. Also on the walls part, if we paid all of that up front, that the county would see a cost savings of nearly $900. And since there's a delay and all that stuff, we have done that. We're getting that all paid in advance so that we're gonna have some cost savings on that project as well. So, and one last thing that I forgot, that I wanted to mention is that yesterday, the county clerk and I, were part of a group that had lunch with Congressman Watkins here in town. And we did address several issues, that we believe are vital for the county that we would like assistance on at the national level. And part of those he brought up, part of those we brought up. But so that you know, we talked about what happens with inmates in the jail with their health insurance, because that seems to be a federal issue, is what we were told. So we explained how that impacts us and county government and budgets. And so we discussed that aspect. We also talked about mental health, and we talked about the opioid crisis. Those were the three real big things that we're talking about that would be affecting county operations. With him, he seems to understand what's going on there. A lot of what we talked about and a lot of the comments were made by from the county officials over there as well as the city officials. He related, he hears those at almost every place he's going. So they understand that we're all experiencing the same situations and same problems, and they're looking to get those addressed for us as best they can. So anyway, just wanted you to know that did happen. Thanks.
Thank you. Scott, you have anything else?
I just have some of the forms I need to get approved, signed.
Okay.
Get that out.
David?
All right, some project updates. Kingman and Montana Road, contractor remains on schedule to finish by substantial completion by May 11th. I was out there last Thursday or Friday. Things are looking pretty good. They are doing some final grading, some seeding, some final concrete work, and really trying to wrap things up. So things are progressing nicely out there. We have for the 59 Kingman Road intersection, we have a pre-bid meeting next week. And the bid date is on the 14th of May. So things are moving right along there as well. Nebraska Road, I appreciate you all considering that last week in my absence. Kilo is hoping to get started yet this week on Nebraska Road, and weather permitting, next week on Rockery. Although I looked at the forecast and it looks like maybe a lot of rain next week, so we'll continue to play that by ear, but they are gearing up and trying to get that done for us. Next week, we will be bringing the chip seal contract to you. The original contract plus the change order lowering the miles. We'll bring that to you, and then also the dust control contract as well. We opened bids for that. When was that? Friday? And yeah, so we opened bids on Friday. We had 2 bidders on that, and we'll be bringing that before you next Wednesday for approval. The applications for folks wanting dust control, that process ends this Friday. And so we're still taking applications. That's a primary reason that we haven't delivered flags. There's no need to do that until we have them all. We know where we're going to be taking them all, and then we'll be getting them out. And all that is clearly spelled out on the application that everybody is signing. So anybody that has already submitted, they'll have that information in their hand. Our road and bridge folks have been busy this month. They've repaired over 50 frost boils. We've been working on bridge decks the last week or so. We've had some pretty substantial areas that we had to go in and place concrete in. So we've repaired 5 bridge decks, and we're going to look at a few more today. Hopefully we can take care of those ourselves. If not, we'll be coming up with a plan to get those cleaned up. Our solid waste folks have been handling these different community free dump days. So they've been extremely busy this month with those. All of that comes to an end this Friday and Saturday when we have the countywide cleanup. So they'll be glad to see April come to an end. We've also got some folks scheduled for training. Next week, we've got a leadership class. A few of them are going to be going to. Others have just finished up some work zone safety, and then also some defensive driving that lots of folks, county employees, are taking advantage of. And then, let's see what else. Last week I attended the NACE conference, National Association of County Engineers. They had folks from all over the United States attend, so I got to interact with folks from other parts of the country. It's amazing, no matter where you go, who you talk to, there's always similar type of issues that they deal with. The folks up north are very familiar with frost boils. They deal with them every year. So it was interesting to visit with them. So I got maybe a broader perspective of public works and road issues. So that was good. And then just the contract for chip seal and dust control I mentioned a second ago will be bringing those before you.
When are you anticipating doing dust control? You have an idea?
I've got a call into the company that Red Low to start that conversation, but they're going to want to get started fairly soon. We are already making arrangements with our blade operators to get around to the area, the locations that we know about. We still continue to get applications each day, so we're adding to the list. So we're trying to get out to those areas and take care of any grading, pothole issues that we need to address prior to dust control application.
Did that answer your questions on the flags?
No, not really. I mean, I know what your road guy said to me, and Gene witnessed it.
That's right.
And maybe he's not on the same page you are, but I know what he said.
You bet.
Well,
Say you haven't.
we're taking applications until Friday. After Friday, we will start delivering flags.
He promised me last Friday.
All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Before we move on, David brought up trainings. That's another section of our budgets that you might see some increases there. I think And you mentioned solid waste. One of the things that's important to me is any of our employees who have direct interactions with the public. So I'm thinking scale house operators, people who sell noxious weed. We want to send those folks to trainings on basically how to handle the public, certain customer service skills. I mean, it's one thing, I think, like the gals in the clerk's office, that's their primary function, so they're very polished and good at it, but sometimes we might have a heavy equipment operator who needs to stand in at the scale house because of somebody's on vacation or something, and I want to make sure that all of those individuals have some training under their belt, because it's important that we, you know, I want all of our contact points, so to speak, to have that training. And so we can talk about that in individual budgets come budget time, but just know you're probably going to see some of that here when we present the 2020 budget.
Okay, it takes us to Commissioner comments and board reports. Start off.
Yeah, last week I still working with Project 17, only with another project now. We're finishing up on the other one we had. We're actually working with the National Veterans Farmers Coalition. I'm having Don Teskey, which is our national representative. He's from Kansas, and he's going to be at our RC&D meeting on the 9th at 9 o'clock in the morning in this room at the Tuesday. Anybody's welcome to come and see his presentation. Two of the main sponsors of that is Farm Bureau and Kubota Tractor. And I'm working with another entity, just back and forth. They're just making a statewide project maybe also. Looks like they're maybe going to donate a sizable amount of money to help promote that. And I'm not even going to go any further than that till I find out for sure, but I have been in contact back and forth with them the last week or so. We met with, last week, the same deal with working with CCAN and Project 17 downtown. We met with the new state conservationist, Karen Woodridge, and there hasn't really been any really good connection between the loss of federal funding in 11 with them. We used to be housed under them, and until 11 in the budget, and she said she's willing to work with us, start working with us again in ways that she can. There's some things she can't do due to federal guidelines, but I know she said there's going to be $2 million this year in the state of Kansas that we may fit under part of those guidelines as a support group, not as part of the group, but as a support group for things. So we're getting ready to work with them on that. So, yeah, I know I mentioned, talked with a couple of towns, and they're real eager about the deal about working together and sharing the cost between some of the small towns, and it looks like they're all pretty well interested in doing it. And it sounds to me like if it comes down like it is, the cost would be pretty minimal if they divide it 6 ways, you know. And so it sounds like, and they got a judge and a person to take care of those problems already in line if the city sign on the dotted line. So it's something that's moving pretty fast. Sounds real good for the community. So that's all I got.
Many meetings, went out Thursday, checked out the new road. The guys are out there working on the bridge on Keaton. They were making their last pour Friday. Looked nice. The water was up, but it was well below the bridge. Actually a lot closer to the bottom of I-35 bridge than it is the new one, so that's a good sign.
On Wednesday, we had our luncheon with the city and in the school district and the chamber, and it's a good reminder that we aren't in our own little world here, that there are awesome things going on around the county, and including all of our towns and the school districts around the county, that there are good things happening. And then after lunch, I ran out to the Conservation District was having their Earth Festival with all the 6th and 7th graders from Franklin, or from West Franklin and Central Heights and Wellsville. They had different stations around, including quail habitat and soil. They had a stream trailer, they had wildlife, they had corn, recycle. I got around to all of the stations except for Osawatomie Science Club. The girls that came out with the pythons wrapped around their waist, that one I didn't go to. All the rest of them I did, and it was a great opportunity. It was a great day for those kids to, to have to learn and have a learning experience. On Friday, I went to the Chamber Coffee at GSSB, and I know that some of these young people, they do all their banking online. As a realtor, I think I've worked with every bank in the county. And, these rock and mortar banks are supportive of their communities. The bankers have become friends. They've become leaders in our community. So I do appreciate and the Gofford Foundation, the Gofford family that owns GSSB has, done a lot for a lot of the communities in the area. Yesterday, I missed the luncheon with Steve Watkins because I went down to Iola. Allen County presented training. It's a FEMA training, G402. It's basically for executives and senior officials on what our job is in the case of a emergency situation in our county. And I learned that our job is basically stand back and let the guys that have the training do what they're trained for. And then figure out how to pay for it afterward. Really. And I sat right next, it was presented by the Division of Emergency Management of the state of Kansas. I sat by a gentleman who has responded to natural and man-made emergencies around the county. And he said, you have a great emergency management team in your county, which I already knew, but he reminded me. And I do appreciate that, we do. They are known throughout the state of Kansas as a great team, so appreciate them.
I attended their day too for a little while. I was impressed by the pythons, the reptiles, but also, they covered erosion and habitat and everything to do with conservation. So appreciate what the Conservation District did, help sponsor that event. It's good for the kids to see all that kind of stuff. Went to Copper State Bank Coffee last Friday. Tuesday I went to the area agency on aging, and basically went over their coming year with their advisory and personnel file program and that sort of thing. One thing that was interesting to me, they had to give back $23,000 of their money because the need was there, but they didn't have the staff to support that need. So they distributed that money back to the state, which redistributed to the other area agencies on aging. And basically, we have an economy with about almost 100% employment rate. It's pretty hard to get, people in certain areas to support the program. So I thought that was unique. One other thing, the state has a checkoff program with your income tax. And the total last year was $77,000. Our agency here got $4,379 to help support the Meals on Wheels program. Our agency here, they took over the Mid-American Nutrition last fall, and they're still transitioning to the program to try to improve their meals and participation and that sort of thing. Transition's been a little bit tough, personnel turnover and that sort of thing. But I think they'll make it in the long run because a lot of people out there depend on the program. That's about it.
Okay, last Wednesday I also attended the joint luncheon, and last Thursday attended the Great Falls Audit Board. Melissa had tons of numbers for us. The main thing I got out of that was things are going to be tight out there too for a while, so money's tight everywhere right now. You all know that. So that's all I've been to since the last meeting. We have study session on the 29th, and commission meeting on the 1st.
Rick, I apologize. I had something written down here. When we had our meeting last Wednesday, you weren't able to be there. But I know one of the discussions we had was, with the city school. And we got talking about the invitation of, remember we mentioned here, maybe other entities. And they talked it over and discussed it. And I think, the rest of the board has to tell you, but I thought it was kind of consensus that we brought up the subject again. Years ago, we used to do the county summit where you had one day a year. You invited, instead of doing a monthly type of situation, a once a year deal where you invited all the entities, all the schools and township boards and fire boards or whoever, that's connected cities, and to one day long meeting and have a learning session on, the first time, it'd be tough to do it, but I know in the past, they used to do it from year to year. They'd put out a questionnaire what people wanted to hear, or who they want to bring in, as state personnel, or state emergency management, or taxation people, or representatives, or something, and just that the rest of them can tell you how they feel about it. But I know it was discussed at that meeting, and it seemed like most of the people there thought maybe that was the direction to go, rather than try and just pick out a few to attend different monthly meetings, maybe to have a once a year deal like we used to have. So I just brought that up because I knew we had it in discussion.
Okay, anything else? Now we'll look for a motion to adjourn. Second. Okay, motion second, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? We're adjourned.